But leadership at a higher level, before we get into the coaching thing, to me is, I've kind of termed it like CVS, which is you're responsible for instilling the culture. The culture, it's the leadership in the organization. It's not going to just happen. As you said, you have to be intentional with it. The next is V, which stands for vision. Is laying out a shared vision is so powerful. Guys, here's where we're going. If you know that what you're trying to create 3 years down the road really well, all of a sudden all these decisions and changes make total sense. Yep. If you have no idea where this person's going and things are changing, you're like, whoa, like that's going to be working just fine. A shared vision is incredibly powerful. And the third one is standards of excellence. It's not what you talk about, it's what you tolerate, and laying out exactly that's what leadership is responsible for. Culture, vision, and standards.
We are here because we know the outcomes in our lives are within our control. That taking absolute ownership of how we eat, sleep, train, think, and connect with each other is how we'll optimize our health and happiness. That chasing excellence is how we grab hold of what is possible. Our mission is to live on the run, always chasing, never stopping. Hello, Ben.
Hi, Patrick.
How you doing?
Great.
Good. Today we're going to talk about, we're going to dive back into business and affiliate related subjects. Specifically, we're going to talk about something that you've actually built an entire seminar around. You called it the Affiliate Excellence. Now it's Affiliate Excellence 1.0 because you sort of moved on to another another deep dive.
Which is amazingly named 2.0.
2.0, yes, very creative. So we're going to today talk about the concepts and the material that are in that 1.0 seminar. Specifically, in that seminar, you lay out what you call, and it's obviously very affiliate related. So the language is affiliate related, but I think we're going to be able to get into a broader conversation than that. But in the seminar itself, it's called the theoretical development of an affiliate. And much like the theoretical development of an athlete, through the conversation, you walk people through the pyramid by which you can start to think about how you're developing and building your business. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to walk through the theoretical development of an affiliate, theoretical development of a business. Where in that conversation do we begin? What's at the bottom of that pyramid?
Yeah. So it is the theoretical development for me of a business. Now we use it as an affiliate because that's the reference point for who we're talking to. But if I was to go and create a semiconductor business, this is how I would go and build that. If I was to go and build a team, essentially, if I was going to build be a coach of a Division I football team, this is how I would go and build it. So it's really like you're building an organization.
Yep.
So the bottom of the pyramid, the base, the most important piece that we want to be focusing on is culture. In the CrossFit community, it's been refined to be community. So for us as an affiliate, and this is where it's as an affiliate, because our customers are a part of our business, they actually dictate a lot of the feel and of the gym. So we kind of interchange the word community and culture. But if I was creating a business where I was selling widgets, you think the word culture. So in our world, people hear culture, people hear community, and they think of, when I talk to a new affiliate, they're like, I'm going to open up a gym, we're going to create a great community, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to do open houses, we're going to bring a friend days, we're going to have this big grand opening, we're going to celebrate birthday parties, we're going to have competitions, and we're going to go have socials every weekend. And that's great, and that's fantastic. It also doesn't build a community at all. Those are the bare necessities of owning a gym. That's the equivalent of saying, we're gonna be a great family because we're gonna go on ski trips, celebrate birthday parties, and go to our kids' soccer games. That's what you do because you're a family.
Right.
To be a great family, you have to go way above and beyond and dig way deeper than that. To have a great community or great culture in your organization, you have to go way deeper beyond that. And it starts with establishing, and I almost shudder when I say this, but like establishing core values. Because what everyone does is they create core values and they go away. We've created core values that every single member in our gym knows because we live and breathe them, and they are humble, hungry, and happy. When we hire people, that is what we're looking for. And happy is kind of like, we change that internally to be people smart. So how do your EQ, the emotional IQ. So how are you with dealing with people? And here's the kind of like the shortcut is you have to realize what your business is. And on the outside looking in, it looks like our business is fitness. It looks like our business is getting people to lose weight, to lower their triglycerides, to get off diabetes medication, to lower their body fat, to increase their clean and jerk, decrease their mile time, to be more formidable human beings. And it's not. Our business is to create relationships. We're in the relationship business. And if we can create strong relationships, everything else falls into place. So knowing that, it becomes a matter of dissecting relationship building. And when you go into that, what you realize is the number one most important thing in terms of building relationships is this theory, which is, I think it was Stephen Covey type probably is this thing, or maybe it was Carnegie, the emotional bank account. Do you know who did it?
Covey.
Covey,
Yep.
The emotional bank account. And that's what we use when we talk to our staff is we want to build wealth, build our relationships with other people by putting more deposits in and limiting the withdrawals. So if we know what that looks like, all we have to do is know what withdrawals and deposits are. Well, in the relationships, withdrawals are things like intimidating, ignoring, dishonesty, miscommunication, gossiping behind people's backs. And you get the picture. It's all these things that if someone was doing to you, if you were out to dinner with somebody and while you're talking to them, having this conversation, they're constantly kind of looking over, underneath the table at their cell phone, like that's disinterest. You're not going to be as invested in that relationship. Similar, if you say to me like, Ben, let's go Saturday morning, let's go to the track at 5 a.m. And I show up at 5 a.m. on track and you're not there. I'm like, what's the deal? I might give you the benefit of the doubt. And you're like, no, I'll be there tomorrow. I'll be there on Sunday. Let's do it on Sunday instead. So I'm there on Sunday at 5 a.m. and you don't show up. That's two broken promises. That's withdrawals from the bank account. All of a sudden, like our relationship is going to be nowhere near where it would have been if you'd showed up and you were waiting for me at 5 a.m. for those 2 times. It's as simple as that. So the flip side of that is how do you find deposits? And deposits come in many different forms, from very simple things like following through on promises, keeping, building trust, using people's names, your body language. But the biggest one that kind of affects kind of everything is this word again that I'm gonna shudder to use because it's overused and misinterpreted, is integrity. And integrity is a lot of people's core values. It's a lot of it shows up in a lot of mission statements in corporations. Enron, the biggest corporate fraud, one of their core values was integrity. So it means nothing unless it means everything and actually dictates how you run your business. And to me, the first thing you have to do is define it. And the way I would define integrity is doing the right thing regardless. And that's regardless of how big or small it is, and regardless if anyone's ever going to find out about it. It is, how do you act when you're sure no one's going to find out about this? So if you know someone's going to, would you cheat on your taxes if you knew 100% you would get away with it? If you would, that's not integrity. It doesn't matter if someone's going to find out about it.
Right.
So then how do we pull that back into the business? In our world, and I own I'm part of a few different businesses, but let's talk about the affiliate, because that's kind of the one that probably is most pertinent to the audience. Is there's really easy things you can do to coach with integrity, that your coaches, this is how you build culture and you uphold the standards. It's not what you talk about, it's what you tolerate. So things like super simple, like hands-free coaching. Your coaches should never have their hands in their pocket or holding something while they're coaching, whether that be a phone, the remote control for the clock, or a coffee. They should never be sitting down or leaning against a post. They should never have sunglasses on or be chewing gum. Like, it's just easy things like that. A little bit tougher things to do is, how do you act when that member walks in that you're not super psyched he's in your class? Maybe he's a guy that is disruptive. You don't get along well with him. He He's an attention whore, whatever it is. He's somebody that is a withdrawal from the community. The easiest thing to do in that scenario with a member like that is what you tell me, what's the easiest thing to do? That member walks in, you're like, damn it, he's in my class. What's the easiest thing to do?
Ignore him.
Exactly. And every time that you ignore that athlete, you're making a withdrawal, not from that athlete, but from the community emotional bank account. So the culture of your organization is taking hit after hit after hit every day you ignore that athlete. What's the harder, but maybe more meaningful thing to do with the athlete? He walks in the gym. Instead of ignoring him, what should we do?
Talk to him.
And that's literally it. Like, you don't have to have some meaningful conversation. You don't have to know how to do tactful conflict resolution. You don't have to have this mean heart to heart or fire him but literally just like talk to him. Mm-hmm. And as you talk to him about like, Jim, what's up, man? How was your weekend? What you're doing is putting deposits in his bank account. And over time, you'll build up enough wealth with that member that your emotional bank account will be strong enough that you can have that tactful conversation. Mm-hmm. And you can have that conversation where he walks in, you go, Jim, hey, what's up, man? Hey, I know you love being here and I love that you're here, man. You work so hard. Just a heads up, when you walk in, your body language doesn't give off this feeling that you want to be here. And I just don't want to rub off on the other members. So maybe, dude, let's turn that frown upside down. Mm-hmm. And you high five and you walk on. And that's little kind of like that. Now, you don't want to do that on day one because you haven't built up the bank account with that athlete. So it's going to come off as a huge withdrawal, mm-hmm. and he's going to be more pissed off. Yep. I don't know if it takes an hour or a week, a month, or a year before you're able to have that conversation. But if you know how to do that, if you know how to make deposits and limit withdrawals, if you know that your business is relationship business, then you can speed up that process. Mm-hmm. And it takes practice.
One thing that I don't think I've ever asked you about or we've talked about. So this is a good excuse for me to ask you about, and that's core values. I know it's something that you have put a lot of stock in across your life, both personal and across the businesses. And what I'm wondering about is when I think about core values and when I work with affiliates on developing their core values, the thing that I think about and try to express to them is that when you figure out your core values, what you're really doing is you're giving yourself a roadmap by which you can make decisions later on in the future, right? Yep. You mentioned that you mentioned integrity, and if it's a core value, then it by virtue of that it needs to dictate some decisions. So I'm really curious, is that similar to how you think about core values? And if so, how maybe you can tell us a little bit about how happy, hungry, and people smart has allowed you to make decisions specifically because you guys have identified and you've identified these are the things we are and these are what we do. I'm curious if you can kind of take that away from the core values conversation, kind of like you said it, like it can feel like very woo woo and put it on a poster.
Super high level.
Yeah.
And fuzzy.
But done well, it's really tactical.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, can you cross over for us a little bit and tell us a little bit about maybe one or two scenarios where you're able to say, we did this because we're humble, hungry, and
so
people smart.
Every hire and fire we make is based off of humble, hungry, people smart. We hire based off of three different things. The first is character. That is the most important. When we talk about character, what we're talking about is humble, hungry, and people smart. The next one is ability, and that is coaching ability for the coaches that we're hiring. And the third that we think we hire for is skills, which is, okay, you're good with WordPress. You're good at social media. You're good with a hammer. Like that's our third thing. And that's just kind of like a nice icing on the cake. So character, ability, and skills. The character, we're defining our character by our core values. Right. So we have to then further define, you have to define these things. Without definitions, it's like what everyone was doing before. Everyone's trying to get fit.
Right.
Oh, should I lift weights or should I go running?
Right.
And you have this debate, like who's fitter? Like, I don't know. Once you define it, it's really easy to figure that out.
Right.
So if you define what humility is, then all of a sudden you can figure it out. And for us, it's things like puts the team above themselves, embracing feedback. You think about things like hunger, you define what it is. Well, for us, that's ridiculous work ethic, fanatical attention to detail, going above and beyond. You think about people smart, it's like positive body language, being tactful and approachable to everybody. And once you define those things, then what we've done is you create scenarios for all these things that have actually happened, to exemplify how these things represent themselves in the gym. So putting others above yourself. So in a coaching scenario, let's say that you have one of your coaches that is done classes, they've coached, and then they're going to go and lift themselves, and they're getting ready to hit a 1 rep max snatch. And as they're getting ready to hit that 1 rep max snatch, one of their members comes up from their class before. They're not coaching now, they're off the clock. Comes up and is like, Ben, I ripped my hands. Can you tell me what to do about this? Like, is that bad? If you're like, whoa, well, let me just hit this snatch and I'll be right with you. That is not one of our core values. And that's when we hired competitors. That's what we got.
Interesting. Yeah.
When we hired competitors, no one would take and jump on a class when somebody else was away, because it was about their working out.
Yeah.
It wasn't about going above and beyond for the team. It wasn't about other people. We also, as we've talked about before on this, we are so into the feedback loop. We so importantly, when after every single class, we've set it up where every one of our coaches takes another one of our coaches' classes. I take the 6:30, which Bud coaches. Bud takes the 8:30, which I coach. We are feedback buddies. After the class, I give him one thing I think he could improve upon. Not what you hit out of the park, not you're so good at this. That doesn't help us move forward.
Right.
We give one tactical piece of feedback of something that he could work on, and then he does it back to me. Now, not everyone is back and forth like that. So that just happens to be the way that ours works out. So that is, you have to have a huge level of humility, embracing feedback, being coachable to have that. So when we are hiring people, this is what we're hiring by. We are literally have this discussion amongst our team. We're like, we shortened up by saying, are they one of us? And one of us means that they're humble, hungry, and people smart. When we let people go, we're usually letting people go either because of one of two things. It's either that they are no longer meeting our core values, or what we call GWC, which, by the way, I'm stealing all of this stuff. I didn't make this stuff up.
Yeah.
Humble, Hungry, People Smart comes from Patrick Lencioni, wrote the book, The Ideal Team Player, amongst other great books like 5 Dysfunctions of a Team.
Yep.
And the other part is GWC, comes from Gino Wickman, wrote the book Traction. GWC stands for Get It, Want It, Capacity to Do It. So do they get the job? Do they understand why this coaching thing is important for our organization? Luckily, all of our coaches get that, but some of them don't get the other stuff. We put someone in charge of facilities and they don't understand why facilities is important or why this front desk position is important. They just see it as like their hourly job. Well, they don't get it. Want it is like they get up on Monday mornings excited to go to work. They got to want this position. Some people love to pound hammers and build the facility. I would not. That's not me. But you'd have a handy person that loves that, get their hands dirty. That would be a phenomenal position for them. And the last one is capacity to do it, which is literally both the skill set. They have the ability. They know they have the skills to do it. Like I don't for facilities or like anything technology. I would not be a good fit there. And then also second time part of that is capacity. So we've let go other coaches that have been coaches for us that have been first responders, firefighters. It seems like a great fit, but their schedule is so morphing. It ended up that they didn't have the capacity to contribute on a consistent basis to a class. That's not the right fit for us.
Right.
It's either they don't have the character or the GWC.
Right. I love that you use the hiring process as your example, because we're talking about building culture, and in a gym, especially a gym the size of CFNE, where you're coaching one class a day.
Yep.
So it really is up to your coaches to both further the overall structure of the culture and the community that you're building and you want to continue to build, but also letting them or them needing to sort of build micro cultures within their own classes, right?
Yep.
So it's interesting that if you get the people right, That's the key. That's sort of the turnkey
Yeah.
to getting the culture right.
That kind of leads into some stuff we're going to talk about later on, which is both systemization. We've systematized how to build culture, both through our staff and through our classes, and leadership, and how to build leaders as well.
Yeah.
So both of those have been kind of like formatted. So kind of full disclosure is I own a gym. It's a 400 member CrossFit gym. I coach one class a day.
Yeah.
And then besides that, I'm responsible for 2 other hours in the week. I do what we call a level 10, which is 1 hour a week. And then I go to a coach's meeting 1 hour a week. And that's the extent of what I do for managing the gym, because we've done a good job creating this organizational structure.
Right.
Now it's taken 11 years to get there.
Right.
And the ups and downs getting there were crazy. And like the amount of mistakes and roller coasters and emotional distress was, I'm not exempt from the entrepreneurial ride that everyone else went on.
Yep.
I just feel really good about where we are in the last probably 2 years since we've really put this into practice.
Okay. So let's move up the ladder a little bit. We've got culture at the base of this theoretical development of an affiliate or a business. What comes on top of that? What's the next thing to focus on?
The next one is product. And the product is, obviously if you're Apple, it's consumer electronics. For us, it's coaching CrossFit. A couple of things about product is staying true to your niche and your specialty and not getting distracted by the bright, shiny objects. So Apple's done a great job of this. They only have a product line of about 4 different items, right?
They're actually getting worse at it, but they used to be much better at it.
Yeah. So, and shocker, Steve Jobs is no longer there. So the stalwart, the person, the leader to say, no, we're sticking to this because the bright, shiny objects are so shiny, right? It's so hard to steer away from those things. So for us as a CrossFit gym, our product is coaching CrossFit. Now, as we just talked about, I've made all the mistakes. Like we didn't do this all the time. And we're like, hey, you know what we should do is like, let's do an Olympic lifting class and let's do a yoga class and let's do ... fill in the blank. And we've done it. Mobility, like kettlebells, like gymnastics. We've tried all these sort of specialty classes. You staying true to what you do well and doing it really well is kind of what that's about. And then the second part of that is figuring out what are the things that are the measurables for you to make that thing happen. For us, it's essentially, it's our class procedures and staying really true to the class procedures. Now, it doesn't mean every single person is doing it exactly the same in every single class. We have a format and then we give people autonomy inside of the format. So if you format this, and that's basically like, if we're any other business, you create this kind of like framework for the products and then let the creative people make it better inside of it. That's what Greg Glassman's doing. We have this affiliate model. Now you guys go make this thing better. That's the product side of this. And we want to think about, when we think about product development, is where do you kind of slide on this scale of, which we talked about before, from complacency to competence to excellence. If you are on one end of the bell curve, which is complacency, it's basically like you come in, you turn on the lights, you write the workout on the whiteboard, you explain the workout, you help people get warmed up a little bit, you say 3, 2, 1, go, you cheer some people up, you turn the music up, you high five people at the end. And I believe that's complacency. That's the bare minimum. Now, competency is in the middle, which is like, I'm trying to make this thing better. Like I want it to be better, but I don't really know how to make certain things better. Equally as detrimental is I don't know what I'm not good at. I don't know what I don't know because I haven't been exposed to enough. So I think I'm doing this really well. And if it takes a lot of effort, I'm kind of like, it's not really worth it. Right. People are showing up and I'm kind of like, you're complacent, you're competent. It's happening. You're working, you're paying the bills, but on the farther end of the bell curve, the other side is excellence. And excellence is fanatic. We talked about this recently, but it's a fanatical attention to detail while putting first things first. So everything matters. Everything down to the way your coaches make eye contact, the way they say like we have systemized the 3, 2, 1, go. It sounds ridiculous. It matters when you see it in action. It makes such a difference the way the coaches say 3, 2, 1, go. So just so it doesn't sound like so abstract, here's what you hear a lot in the gym. So athlete set, or maybe not even athlete set, but they just go 3, 2, 1, go. And or it's even less than that. We're starting now. Like what we do is you say the name of the workout, the format of the workout, what it starts with, and then it goes. So what we say is so this is literally like after the athletes get all warmed up. All right, 8:30, we're doing Fran. 21:59 of thrusters and pull-ups. Athletes set, boop. And what that does, it sounds like why does that matter? Fanatical attention to detail of putting first things first. Why that matters is because it's a consistency. And the next time that person comes into class, they're going to feel okay stepping away from the bar for 2 seconds to take a couple breaths, grab some chalk, because they know that they have that lead up, that 8-second lead up of athlete set, 8:30, let's get ready for Fran. We have 21:59 thrusters and pull-ups. Athlete set, 3, 2, 1. It's the long enough.
On-ramp.
It's an on-ramp. Instead of, I'm not going to step away from my bar at all.
I don't know when he's going to say go.
Or worse, I don't know that my coach is so inconsistent, so I am away from the bar. Yeah. And all of a sudden the coach goes, go. And you're like, whoa. And it allows me, I know when to take my breath. I know when
setting expectations.
Exactly. Yeah, and the consistency of it matters incredibly. Yeah. We have that systemized for everything. That's the attention of the product. Just like Steve Jobs finished the inside of the iPhone. Like the iPhone, the inside of it was beautiful. No one's ever going to see it because he got it from his dad, who was a carpenter, who finished the back of his cabinets that would go up against the wall that no one would ever see. But it's that attention to detail of the product that matters.
Maybe briefly, can you talk about the product or that philosophy as it relates maybe to another business that you're involved in, maybe Noble or Fuel for Fire. One of the two is just as an example of to get people outside of the gym a little bit, because that is a pretty narrow, a narrow environment.
So for both of those businesses, I am involved in both those businesses, but I don't have control of the day-to-day operation.
Yeah, you don't get to make a phone call.
Yeah, so I'm not making the decisions on what
But maybe what would you?
And thank God, because I see things come out of Noble, I'm like, what the hell is going on there? And it's like, bestseller.
Yeah.
It's like, so obviously I'm not the fashion retail guy. Course. But what they do is they do a phenomenal job of figuring out what is like, they came out with the running shoe, which was phenomenal. It was not status quo. It was this attention to detail of what I'm not going to do what everyone else in the industry is doing. I'm going to do what I feel is the best thing possible. It's innovative. It's the best thing that they could possibly come up with. Yep. And it's this attention to detail that matters and will drive them forward. If they just do what everyone else is doing, copy. If you copy best practices, you're probably going to be okay. But that in my definition is competence. Yep. That's like you're doing things okay. To be excellent, you have to be a bit of a trailblazer and be willing to take some risks. Yep. So in my world, that is like be willing to take that kind of awkward conversation of like, your 3, 2, 1 go is not up to par. Like, right. What? Yeah. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah. No, it matters. Here's why it matters.
And to go back to the core values and the culture, if your coach hears that and thinks, what a stupid piece of feedback that is, it doesn't matter at all. If you have that person in there, then you've done something wrong 3 steps ago, right?
Absolutely.
So it's really interesting how connected they are.
That's a great way of saying it. It's like these things are all, there's blurry edges between each one of these things. And they're all interconnected. As I said earlier.
One doesn't end, like
I said before, it's like we're talking about culture, like we've systemized culture. Well, systems come at the end of this thing.
Right. Real quick, before we move on to the next tier, coaching CrossFit as the product, when I first heard it, and this is obviously a while ago now, that was really interesting to me. There's something very specific about the product being coaching CrossFit. The product is not CrossFit. It's not a membership that somebody purchases in order to work out, right? It's very specific. How did you always realize that was actually the product in that was the thing? If you improved it, everything else would improve?
No, we thought our product was fitness. Yeah. We thought our product was getting people. That's why we went down all these rabbit holes, all these different auxiliary, product lines and different SKUs of, let's do a spin, let's do a cardio, let's do a weightlifting, and when we've kind of figured out, like, the saying I like to use, I'm sure I stole it from somebody, is it's better to do a kick-ass half than a half-assed whole. Mm-hmm. Which, you can do all these different things. It's really hard really, really hard to do one thing really, really, really well.
Right.
It's even harder to do two things really, really well. And it's damn near impossible to do three things on a world-class level. Well, our one thing that we do really, really well is CrossFit. We coach CrossFit really, really well. Obviously debatable in opinions, and mine's very biased. But if, we recently had somebody, actually my wife was like, we should do a yoga. And this comes up probably every 4 to 6 months. Yep. We should do a yoga class. And I told her the same thing I give the response to everyone else that suggests that. I'm like, I would love to do that. It would be phenomenal, but we're not going to do it as well as the yoga studio, which is literally down the street.
Right.
If you want a great yoga experience, I think you should go to the pros, like go to the people that do it. And I know we could do everything underneath one roof, but what we're going to do by that is dilute even the product that we do really well, because we're going to have to pour resources in some form or fashion, time, energy, money, stress, whatever it is. We're gonna have to pour some resources into that. By definition, there's a limited, finite amount of resources. They're not you don't just like kind of,
you don't get to get more time or
so
energy.
Exactly. So we're gonna have to pull some away from something else to put it there. That's not what I want to do.
Right.
I want to double down on our strengths in this area.
Really cool. Okay, so the next one is my favorite for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But what the conversation we've had so far is really interesting to me. So the next one, not to beat around the bush, is marketing. The really interesting thing to me about where you've placed it in the development here is product first, and then marketing. And what's really interesting
Culture, product, marketing.
Culture, marketing.
Yeah.
Exactly. And what's really interesting to me is like when you talk about sort of complacent or competent, that being sort of that's what's expected of you in some ways. That's meeting spec. Everything you do above that is excellent. And for me, thinking about it that way and thinking about everything you do above that is actually marketing and branding, right? Mm-hmm. If you do a good job, if you just do a good job coaching your classes, that's great. But that's also what people expect of you when they sign up. They expect you to give them a good class. When you get into the territory of excellence, that's where you're building a brand, and that's where you're doing some interesting things. So talk to us about what marketing is in your mind and how product and marketing maybe interplay so much that one strengthens the other and vice versa.
Okay. I really like what you just said there. And it got me thinking, and this is the first time I've actually I'm going to formulate this in real time right now because I've never actually thought about this until you said it. Mm-hmm. There's actually a difference between product and service. Mm. So product technically is you're selling a widget. You're selling a good. Yep. Somebody walks away with it and they use it somewhere else. Yep. Where a service is you're providing, like what we do as a service. If you're selling a product, you could flip these two because good distribution beats a good product. Mm-hmm. Having incredible marketing and branding and an okay product will beat a great product with okay with advertising and so on. It's more like having like Coca-Cola, think about like the amount of money people put towards, like they're putting billions of dollars towards marketing. They're not putting it towards product development.
Right.
So it's a good distribution, a good platform will beat a good product. Instagram having, 50 million people, or WhatsApp or whatever, these have huge platforms. That's a distribution through marketing is more important to them than fixing the bugs in the widgets, right? Fixing all the little things. But when it's a service, it's not flipped. When it's service, it's the way that I laid it out, where it goes community or culture. Then you have to work on the service. You have to work on that kind of like that deliverable. Because if you have a bad service, you go to a bad restaurant. Yep. If you have bad food, it doesn't matter how good the marketing is. But, like you might buy something for Apple just because you want to be a part of the Apple thing because they've created such a strong brand. Even if some other cell phone company comes up with something that's better. Maybe the Samsung is a better product, but I just want to be with this thing because of what it stands for. Yep. The service thing is about the product first. So That's kind of like, I just kind of thought of that for the first time. But when I think about marketing, I think of kind of two different avenues of marketing. One is advertising, and the other is the word that you used, which is branding.
Yep.
They're not mutually exclusive. You could do both, but I think depending on the industry you're in, one will have a little bit more influence than the other. One's certainly a lot easier to do than the other. So let's kind of define what those things look like. Advertising is what most people think of when they think of marketing, branding, advertising. They think of this advertising. It's, everything from like the traditional like TVs, radio, print, to more guerrilla tactics like speaking engagements, contributing to charities and auctions, having leadership positions, getting your name out in the community. But it goes right down to like your trifold brochures and your business cards and all those things, your website. That's all kind of like lives under the advertising umbrella. Website's a little debatable. Branding is very different. Branding is like the feel. It's the feel of your business. So when you think about advertising, it works really well for a couple of the businesses I'm involved with, like Noble or Killcliff, those businesses. CompTrain is advertising really moves the needle there a lot. And now in the digital age, it's digital ads, or it's Facebook and Google and those type of things.
You don't have a CompTrain trifold
brochure? Right. Yes. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Dating myself there. So here's the way, in terms of advertising, the way I like to think of that. Most people in the marketing world have heard of the sales funnel, which is you're trying to create as much think of a funnel. At the top level of the funnel, you're trying to create as much awareness as you possibly can. From there, from everyone's aware of your brand, you're trying to get as many people to convert into the next part of the funnel, which is you're not gonna get everybody into consideration, where they're like, I'm thinking about joining a gym. They're considering your gym, and they don't know whether to go to SoulCycle or CrossFit, or they're trying to think about this CrossFit versus that CrossFit. And then you finally get people in the smallest one, which is people that convert and they purchase. So it goes awareness, consideration, purchase. I actually like to further define it. I think I got this from Duct Tape Marketing. Do you know who that is? John?
Yeah, we've talked about it a little bit. I don't remember his name, but
I'm blanking on it. A marketing guru, and he further defines it. I love it. It's a marketing hourglass. So instead of awareness, consideration, purchase, it's know, like, trust, try, buy, repeat, refer. So it kind of just further defines those things. So how many people know you, are aware that you exist? That's the old awareness one. But then from those people, it doesn't go right to purchase. It doesn't go right to consideration. That you got to get them to like you. And then from once they like you, then they can trust you. And once they trust you, then they'd be willing to buy from you. And once they buy from you, it doesn't stop there. It actually gets bigger, because now they are advocates walking around, and they're walking billboards, spilling out your message of why other people should be, and it actually gets bigger, and then refer other people, and it gets bigger again. So it's a marketing hourglass. What you want to do in each of those is define who sits in each one of those categories. Then the goal is how do we convert them? How do we get people from the awareness level? So the awareness level is easy. So it's why Nike puts the swoosh on the
everywhere,
right? Yeah, literally, it's why McDonald's has their, you watch an NHL hockey game, and there's just the logo on the boards. That's just for awareness purposes. It's like, hey, we're here, we're relevant. And being relevant is very, very important. If you're out of mind, you're out of sight, and they're not going to purchase. So you got to stay in front of people. That's why Coke is everywhere as well. So you're trying to create as much awareness. Then from there, how do you get people from aware to like you? Well, that's creating strong content. That's getting people to engage with you on social. Then from there, how are you going to get people to trust you? Well, trusting is like the people that are opening up your newsletter and reading it, and the people that are reaching out on a podcast and commenting, and the people that are coming to visit you in store. Like those people trust you. They're taking time out of their busy schedules to actually further engage on a much deeper level. Those people you're trying to get to actually convert, to buy. And then from buy, how do you get those people to be buy again? And then those people, once they become repeat customers, how do you get them? It's all these triggers. You're just putting triggers in place where you need them. The cool thing is you find out so if you're converting, 50% from each level, and then all of a sudden you find out like in one of those things, it's only at 6%.
Right. You're leaking somewhere.
You put the efforts there.
Yep.
Exactly right. So after you get someone to buy, you're not having any trouble getting everyone in and they're buying, but people are only sticking around for a month if you have a subscription service.
Yep.
Well, guess what you need to do? It's not create more awareness. Don't put your name out more. That's not the issue. If you're a gym and you have 3,000 waiver forms, but you only have 60 members, you don't need more people to be aware of you.
Right.
You need more people to sign up again. So you figure out where the sticking point is. That's advertising. Branding, on the other side, is everything you can do. Let me back up a little. I like Greg Glassman's definition of advertising. He's very anti-advertising, and I am too for an affiliate, but I'm not for other businesses. Right. His definition in terms of like it affects affiliates is it's everything you can do to improve your business that does not improve your business, which is true. You put $1 million towards advertising, your current customers don't benefit from that at all. But if you put $1 million towards branding, they benefit from a lot, because branding is the sum of everything you do. It is make sure that every rower has the batteries in it. It is making sure that the bathrooms are clean. It is making sure that the front desk staff is smiling and greeting people appropriately. It is the super attention. We've talked about fanatical attention to detail. It's that. And it creates the feel in the gym. It's hard to say like, how does that create a feel? But it does. Small things like the leaderboard, right? Even like I said, batteries in the rower. Yep. So imagine you have a class starting, you're gonna do a 2K row. 3, 2, 1. It's not gonna be 3, 2, 1, go, because we're talking about how to do it better than that. But 3, 2, 1, go, and someone goes, my battery's died. My battery. How does that person feel? Yeah. Everyone else is getting ready to dig in and set new benchmarks and test themselves against one of the meanest, the devil's race, a 2K row, and they get this false start and they don't get to compete with everybody else. They're going to feel crappy. They're not going to feel as committed to the gym. Leaderboards. If you don't update the leaderboard every time a benchmark workout comes up, people are going to get separated from the feel of the community. But you update it the next day, and I'm telling you, people walk in and they go, I feel special. It's a very different, so it's about this feel. You walk into the gym and you feel this thing. And the best way to think about branding is just attention to detail, and no detail is left too small.
Yeah. To go back to what I said earlier about sort of you're meeting spec when those athletes do the 2K. The product is good. You coach them through it. That's what they expect. It's everything that happens above and beyond that. That's branding, right? It's the pride they feel. It's all that good stuff. It's really, to me, like branding is, what do your members say about you when you're not there? When they go home and they're at the cocktail party, when they're the other soccer moms, when they're at the on a ski trip, and someone goes, "Hey, you've been doing CrossFit at that gym. What do you think about it?" Whatever they say about you then, that is your brand. And now you have control over that. Yeah. That's really important to realize. And you got to really dig in and see things from their perspective. The Henry Ford quote of, if there's one secret to success, it's the ability. I almost said one secret to sex. Yeah, I'd like to know his one secret to sex as well.
If there's one secret to success, it's the ability to see things from your customer's point of view as well as your own. Right. Where so many people are just seeing their business from their point of view. You got to figure out what they're saying about your business when you're not around. Yeah,
and what you said earlier about culture is that it doesn't just happen. And I think that's the big thing about branding and marketing, that I think we've gotten a little bit lost within the affiliate community, is this notion that if we do all the things that are supposed to build the right community, and we coach and we're a good coach,
CrossFit's a great community,
then suddenly
we're going to have a great community.
Yeah, and it can work like that, but man, is it risky?
You'll fall into competence.
That's true. Yeah,
you will.
Yep.
You'll be okay.
Yep.
If you don't do it meaningfully with intention, if you don't brand and develop culture with intention. So this morning, this speaks to culture. I was reviewing, we're doing it in the midst of a nutrition challenge, and I was talking to my 8:30 class about it. And one of the athletes was talking about what they ate before the workout. And they said, I have an apple with almond butter. And I said, and I was like, that's good, but maybe we should skip out on the almond butter because it creates, and people started razzing him. It's a super close, so people were razzing him like, because there's actually the second comment he made that was kind of like, I was like, actually, so like,
gotcha.
0 for 2, 0 for 2, like, and I was like, guys, and I didn't let it slide. It's got to be intention.
Yep.
I didn't let it slide. I was like, guys, you're knocking him for contributing. You're knocking him for putting himself out there and contributing to the group. He's going to get the most benefit out of all of these people, out of everybody here, because he was brave enough to say what he did. And if you're doing it right, and I say, yes, that's right, like, guess what? You don't get to change. If I say, no, you could do this better, then all of a sudden you will get to improve the most. It's not letting those small things slide when people go, 0 for 2, like, nice try, Will. Like, it's like,
because that's not celebrating hunger and humility.
I was like, guys, no. He did exactly what we're supposed to do, what we're supposed to be doing. Yes, calling it out at the moment.
Yeah, I think that to what you said is worth repeating. Just that you can build a brand with both empathy and intention. And I think that when you think about what marketing and branding is, if you think just about those two things,
I love that.
And I would add specificity, which is kind of what you went back to before with the product. And we're going to do CrossFit, and we're going to do it really well, and we're not going to get those are the 3 pillars for me of what makes a good brand.
Okay, so specificity, empathy, and intention.
Yep.
Love that.
Those are my 3. Okay, so I think at some point we've talked about doing a whole episode on marketing. So I will save my geek outs and more questions for that, because we want to get to the rest of the pyramid. So we've got culture, product, marketing. What's next?
Management.
The sexy stuff.
So management, kind of like marketing, where there's 2 different avenues of advertising and branding. To me, there's 2 different kind of subsets to management as well. One is leadership, because management is not leadership. They're different. And the other one is business structure / organization. You need that. Management is responsible for that as well. So kind of like, how are you setting up the business?
Yep.
The first piece of that, of the leadership piece, is, I like to reference the John Maxwell thing, the levels of leadership in terms of how to determine this. But
and we've done episodes on that.
And we've done episodes. So really quickly, kind of like, it's about, it's not, leadership is not delegated, it's earned. You don't just get it because it's assigned to you, because you're someone's manager, boss,
or because you
or coach. It doesn't mean that you have people's trust, respect, or that you can lead them. You have to earn it. And the first way to earn it is by understanding, is building a relationship with them. And that's why community is the first most important thing above product. Because if you don't work with the emotional bank account and build a strong relationship, you can't coach them. You're not a leader yet. You need to be able to build the relationship first. So what happens is, these coaches go, I have my level 1, I have my level 2, I'm a level 3, I'm a level 4 CrossFit coach. You should listen to me. And when they start to talk to people, and what's going through those people's minds are, who do you think you are, dude? Like, what do you, like, all second guessing?
Yeah.
Until
it might not even be conscious. It might.
No, it's not conscious. They're not saying that on purpose.
Right.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
But what's happening is,
what are you selling me is what they're thinking.
Yes, exactly. So here's the example. You're traveling somewhere and you have a Rogue t-shirt on. You get on a plane.
I would never do that.
The person, you have a Cloth Equipment t-shirt on, right? You have a CrossFit New England t-shirt on. You get on a plane, you sit next to the person, and they go, oh, you're a CrossFitter. I am too. You go, oh, really cool. And they go, what's your Fran time? Yeah. You go, it's 4 minutes. They go, I got this thing. Just to let you know, I'm also a CrossFit level 4 coach. But I got this thing that will knock a minute off your Fran time. You want to buy it?
Nope.
Yeah, because you're like, what you selling me? That's what's happening when you're coaching somebody. I got this thing that will improve your performance. You want it? People are like, you want to buy it? People are like, nope, not really. But let's say you called up your brother and your brother's like, hey, I started CrossFit a little while ago. He doesn't have the credentials. Doesn't have the credentials at all. But he goes, I got this thing that I've tested at my gym. And dude, Patrick, I think you should take it because it'll knock a minute off your Fran time. What are you thinking?
Maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Because you have a relationship with him. So it's like a maybe.
Yeah.
Now, what if he goes, no, seriously, Patrick, I did this with my entire affiliate, and 99 people, we have 100 people on our affiliate, 99 of them PR'd by a minute, and one dude PR'd by 4 minutes. Yeah. So what are you thinking? You want to try it? Okay. Yeah. Because what he's done there is he's gotten to the next level, which he's proved results for other people. So that's level 3 of leadership, which is results-based. Then you try it, and it knocks a minute off your Fran time. You go from 4 to 3 minutes. You call him up and you're like, bro, that totally worked. He's like, I got another thing that works for Diane. You want it?
Right.
You're like, of course, like, yes, of course it is. Of course you want it. Now, because he's delivered results for you. That's how leadership works. Yep. What you're trying to do is get results for an individual, but you can't skip the steps. Mm-hmm. You can't just try to get results for an individual without building the relationship first. It's really, really important that we understand that you have to do that first. That's why the early stages of the learning process are not about points of performance. They're about, what are your goals? I want to know about you. Where are you from? What's your history? The more I know and understand about you, the more comfortable you feel that I'm going to have your best interest at heart. Yep. If you walk in and I don't ask you a question and I go, let's throw 95 pounds on the bar. And you're like, okay. You're like, here's a squat snatch. That'd be the equivalent of you walking in a jiu-jitsu place and then be like, here's this rear naked chokehold. You're like, whoa, dude. Like, I don't know you from anybody and I don't know, you don't know me. Like, you have to build a relationship. So that's kind of the leadership side of things. Right. There's a whole bunch more that goes into leadership. We've talked about more stuff on here. But leadership at a higher level, even before we get into the coaching thing, to me is, I've kind of termed it like CVS, like which is you're responsible for instilling the culture. The culture, it's the leadership in the organization. It's not going to just happen. As you said, you have to be intentional with it. The next is V, which stands for vision. Is laying out a shared vision is so powerful. Guys, here's where we're going. If you know that what you're trying to create 3 years down the road really well, all of a sudden, all these decisions and changes make total sense. Yep. If you have no idea where this person's going and things are changing, you're like, whoa. Like, that's going to be working just fine. A shared vision is incredibly powerful. And the third one is standards of excellence. It's not what you talk about, it's what you tolerate, and laying out exactly that's what leadership is responsible for: culture, vision, and standards. The other side of it is kind of the organizational structure side of things. And this is totally taken from Gino, Wickman, and Traction, and Entrepreneurs Organizational Systems, EOS.
Yeah, you mentioned them earlier with GWC.
Yes, exactly. So this is how we structure it, which is you create the mission, the vision, you create your marketing strategy, your 3 kind of unique things about you. What are your core values? Where do you want to go in 10 years, 3 years? What are your goals for 1 year? What are your goals for the next quarter? And then holding people accountable on a weekly basis to make sure you hit those quarterly rocks. We call them quarterly rocks. If you structure the business that way with the appropriate checkpoints, essentially meetings, you strive towards on a daily basis. You are holding people accountable. Again, not what you talk about, it's what you tolerate. It's about standards of excellence. Hold people accountable. You're holding people accountable on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, to make sure we hit what we've determined as the most important things to get in the next 90 days. You do that, rinse, wash, repeat 4 times, you're going to hit your 1-year goals. You hit that 1-year goal 3 times, you hit your kind of long-term picture. You do that 3-4 times, you've hit your vision. Like in 10 years, you are so much farther along. Now, it sounds kind of like I went through that incredibly quickly. Yeah. But here's what most organizations do, and certainly the affiliate world, is they open the doors and then they start putting out fires. Yep. I got to answer my emails, got to pay the bills, got to post next workouts thing. Man, I think we should hire another coach. We have a leaky faucet. Should we buy more rowers? The cleaners didn't show up. And you're just putting out all these fires, and they're not growing and developing. You don't just like, this is what people think is like, it's a timeline. If I'm open for 6 months, we'll have 50 members. If I'm open for a year, we'll have 100. I'm open for 5 years, we'll get to 250. That's not how it works. You have to be intentional with your growth, and your membership will reflect, or another business, your revenue or sales. It's all a reflection of the growth that you're taking on purpose. You're trying to drive your business towards greatness. Now, it's kind of this Eisenhower Matrix type thing. What most people get caught up in is these urgent things that are like they're putting out fires and putting out fires and putting out fires. Voicemail, bills, email, like the crying baby in the corner type thing. And they're never actually looking at the growth opportunities. What are the things that we can strategically putting in place to get us to the next level? Like maybe we should be creating a partnership with this other network down the street, with this medical network or university. Maybe we should be looking at building out new showers, because if we do that, we get a better earlier crowd. Maybe we should be looking at hiring a nutritionist. Maybe we should ... That's how you grow. It's not just like you let things fall into your lap and take advantage of them when they come.
Just for folks the Eisenhower Matrix is basically a way to just delineate things that are urgent but not important, urgent and important, important but not urgent, and what's the one I'm missing?
I think both. Not urgent, not important.
Not urgent, yeah.
Yes.
Which is most things.
Yes.
Okay, so that was just for folks who heard the term but didn't actually know what that was. Okay, that was a lot for management. I hadn't heard the CVS before. Is that relatively new for you, just in terms of?
I put an acronym to it.
That's what I mean. Is that relatively new? Because I hadn't heard that yet. That's really cool. I think the thing about that strikes me is that is a continuous process and not something you get to do once and you've nailed it.
Oh my gosh.
I think especially the vision part of it, so much of being a leader is, and we've talked about this before, is repeating your vision
ad nauseum,
far past the point where you're like, all right, everybody gets it, because that's only when they're starting.
Here's this is actually I didn't do the work to figure this out, but I listened to somebody else that did. Here's what most people think when they're doing a good job of laying. Let's say you establish new core values, right? You want to tell people how important this is to you. So what you do is you have an hour-long meeting to present the core values.
Yeah.
Then you follow that meeting up with an email. Then, a week later, then the week after that, you follow that up with a memo. And then at another meeting, you brief it again, 15 minutes. These are our core values. That sounds like you've done a lot. Over the course of 6 weeks, you've had these 4 touch points. You're really doing a good job of making sure that these people hear that. When you do the math of what that communication looks like, an hour-long presentation, 15-minute presentation, a full email, and another memo, it comes down to less than 1% of the communication that's happening within the organization.
Mm-hmm.
You're not...
For the most important...
Yeah, for the most important thing, and the thing that you think you're doing such a good job of communicating. That's why it's not resonating. That's when we talk about something, and we talk about another acronym, ABC, always be communicating. We do it. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Like it takes 7 times in marketing. It takes 7 times for me to hear you for the first time. That's why you have to work so hard for awareness. Yep. But we do it at every opportunity, at every single coaches meeting. Everyone goes around the table and shares an example of humility, hunger, or people smarts that they saw in the gym in the last. So that's our 8 employees going around the room and everyone sharing one. So they're getting 8 touch points per week of how it represented themselves in the gym. Yeah. That's just, and then we also do principles, where I present every quarter on the principles that matter in our organization. Yep. And the principles are based off of, it's basically 5 touch points for humility, hunger, and people smarts. Yep. And then we also do if-then scenarios that relate to that. Then we talk about when we hire people, it's like, it's never ending. Mm-hmm. So now all of a sudden this humble, hungry, smart thing, it matters.
Yeah.
And I made a huge mistake of this because I used to change core values every 2-3 years. And it would be like, yeah, here's the new ones. Yep, got it. And we're going to change. Okay, so we're changing coffee mugs. Yeah, okay, so we're going to get a new poster for the office. And yeah, that's what I didn't understand what it meant to reinforce. Just repetition. So sorry to cut you off.
No, that's right.
John Wooden's thing about learning is I'm probably gonna butcher it, but it goes something along the lines of explain, demonstrate, try, repeat. Yeah. It's repetition. Yeah. You have to just keep doing it.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that we had mentioned earlier, or you had mentioned earlier, why the McDonald's logo is on the inside of the hockey arena. It's because they want to make sure you see it. Yeah, a lot. It's not because you're going to see it and purchase.
I want to go to hamburger.
Right. That's not how it works.
Nope.
It's the same thing. It's the number of times. It's the frequency that
exposures.
Matters. Yeah.
You got to just get exposures.
Okay. Last one is systems.
Yes.
Which is even sexier than management.
Oh man.
Talk to us about what systems are, what you mean by that, and then how you've gone about developing them.
Okay, so a system is basically putting a standard, an SOP, a standard operating procedure. So it's taking the 5, 6, whatever, 7 kind of key things to your business and putting them on paper. That's literally what this means. It's like when you systemize something. So it doesn't need to be this long drawn out thing. You use bullet points. It's just like really quick, but something to reference that this is how this thing goes. So for a gym, it's like super like opening procedures. So when the person walks in the morning, what's supposed to happen? Closing procedures. This is what's supposed to happen. An emergency action plan. This is what's supposed to happen. Our marketing and app, like this is how many times a week we're supposed to post to social media with a call to action, a thought leadership, a member celebration. It's the facilities. This is how often we're going to clean the rowers and the treadmills and the barbells. And this is how often the cleaners come in. And this is when we post to the website, it goes picture, then a bold with the title of the workout, then indent, and you created standard operating procedures for the 5, 6, 7 kind of key things that happen in your organization, and you put them on paper. Now, in the beginning, that sounds like a lot of work. Mm-hmm. It is. It's more work than not doing it all. Totally get that. But what you've done, you've created something that's now scalable and repeatable that you don't need to own, and that you have some sort of standards in place for what this thing's supposed to look like. Systems is also an acronym. We don't put systems in place to make more work. It's just the opposite. In the beginning, yes, it's going to be a little bit more work, just like teaching your kid how to tie their shoes is more work than you just tying them. If you just tie your kid's shoes, it takes me, and that's where I am right now, I have a 6-year-old. So if I tie my kid's shoes, it probably takes for both shoes about 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. If I was to teach him how to tie his shoe, it's probably going to take 5 minutes and the shoes aren't going to get tied. I'm still going to end up tying. Right. But if I tie his shoes forever, add up the 30 seconds every day. And that is an enormous, enormous number. Now, if I took the 5 minutes every day for 3 weeks, that's more than, but in the long run, it's way less. Systems, the acronym is they save yourself time, energy, money, and stress. So we're putting these in place so that you can do the other stuff, that you can work on the business, not in the business. In the early stages of kind of entrepreneurial growth pattern, the founder is the one-stop shop. He does everything. She does everything. Marketing and cleaning the toilets and the bill pay and creating the product and the marketing and
she's tying all the shoes.
She's tying everybody's shoes. But the goal is eventually, as it grows, is start to work your way out of that. And it's basically once it becomes so painful. I like this for the Airbnb. Brian Chesky, the founder of Airbnb, is you do it yourself until it gets painful.
I've never heard that. That's good.
So once it gets so painful, then you try to outsource it.
Yeah. So just for them, the early days, the founders would go to all of the condos or apartments and take the pictures
exactly
themselves.
Right. The founders
and at some point they
were the photographers.
Yeah.
So then eventually that became too painful. They couldn't do it anymore. So what they did is they then hired or outsourced for it. They hired photographers. Then they managed those photographers until they could no longer manage them. Then they hired someone to manage them. Then it got so painful that they did the third step, which is then you automate it. Right. They actually created a system that automates the whole thing. So that's how these systems get put into place.
Yep. Really cool. I had another question, but this is one of our longer ones. So I think this is maybe a good place to wrap it up. Anything else on the theoretical development of a business worth hitting on before we let people?
I think, so that's the theoretical development of a business. And I think the most important part is to become a critic of business, to become a critic of excellence. Every time you are a proprietor, every time you come in contact with a business, you go to a restaurant, you hire a plumber, you go on a whitewater rafting trip, whatever it is, every single time, ask yourself, where are they on that spectrum of competence, complacency, and excellence? And I said that a little, complacency, competence, and excellence. Ask yourself, are they doing everything they can to make this that much better for the customer? Or are they kind of running this business because they're kind of like somewhere in between, or they just not care? They're opening the doors and letting people come in. If you do that and you dissect their business, both from a revenue perspective, like this, I was lucky enough as a kid that my dad would do this. We would go, a whitewater rafting trip, and he'd be like, It'd just be like part of our conversation.
That's really cool.
He'd be like, so they have 11 rafts. They have this many guides. There's six people on a raft. Yeah, everyone's paying $150, this much. What do you think they're paying the employees? This one they get per raft. They're just putting these 11 rafts. He did it with toll booths. We go through a toll booth. We would time how long it takes to go through a toll booth. It would be about 8 seconds. There was 11 toll booths that we go through. That sounds crazy, but I think that's what I remember. Whatever. 6 toll booths, 6 seconds to get through it. That's 1 second per car. Every car is throwing in a quarter. How much is this road making? In the olden
days, they were throwing quarters.
So how much would this toll booth be making? You just kind of run through that. Yeah. So it's like from an operational perspective and a business perspective, cash flow perspective, what are they kind of turning? And then the next part of that is like organizationally, what could they do to improve? Could they get a new carpet? Could they be playing better music? Could they smile more? Could they pay more attention? And you just gotta figure out, and then what happens is if you become that critic of excellence with other businesses, you can't help but become a critic of your own business. Right. And that's when the tables turn, in my opinion. And that's when you start to really move forward because you go, oh my God, there's all these things we could be doing to improve, but I don't have the bandwidth to do any of them. Get it, want a capacity to do it. I get it. I know I got to do these things. I want to do these things, but I don't have the capacity to do any of these things. It hurts so bad. I'm so busy putting out fires. What do I need to do? Well, I probably need to systemize some things and get some other leadership in place so that we can move this business forward.
I really like that being a critic of other organizations, I think is that's really cool. I always think about it in the realm of marketing and branding, and I think that you can do it for brands that you have an affinity towards for whatever reason, breaking down the things that they're doing that make you want to attach yourself to them. So, we mentioned Rogue earlier. What are they doing just so you can start to think like a brand, like a marketer, or think in terms of branding? What did CrossFit do in the early days to get so many people attached to them so vehemently that they were willing to alter the courses of their lives to open gyms or start businesses or whatever? You
go someplace and you have a good experience at another affiliate. You go to another, you learn to windsurf. You go to you're learning to, you go on a ski trip and there's a guide. Yep. What is that guy doing that makes you so drawn to them? Then you bring that back to your own gym and you bring it to life there in your own special way.
Yeah, that's so cool. I did that the other day. We were meeting with some friends in a donut shop. And I spent most of the time thinking about how would I make this donut shop better?
You think all the time, like, I wonder what donuts taste like.
But that's really cool. I hadn't heard you talk about that before, but that's really, really nice. Okay, so many good things to think about as we individually and collectively sort of go out and chase excellence. So thank you for that. And we'll see everybody. We won't see them, but they'll listen to us on a future episode.
Thanks, Pat.
Yeah. You can get every episode of Chasing Excellence wherever you listen to your podcasts or on YouTube. Until next time, thank you for listening.